Hey everybody, and welcome back to the board meeting. Today we are going to be reviewing and rating Welcome to the Moon. Welcome to the Moon is the third game in the trilogy of the Welcome to series. We originally had Welcome to, then we had Welcome to New Las Vegas, now we have Welcome to the Moon. Now these are flip and right based games. Now in this one, it is a campaign style game with 8 different scenarios, and you can play either as in the campaign or you can break out each individual scenario at a time, however you want to play the game. Now, I loved the original Welcome to, and the sequel, Welcome to New Las Vegas, upped the complexity a bit, and I didn't like it as much. I thought it was good, not great. So let's take a look at this one and see what my thoughts are. We'll go down to the table and I'll give a very quick, simple explanation of kind of how the game works. So before I get started talking about the actual game, there is 2 different ways you can play this game. You can play this game as a campaign, or you can play the 8 different scenarios individually. I played the game individually, but I kind of wish I would have gone through the campaign, and I will eventually go through this campaign. But the campaign is basically you will be looking at this storybook, and it's kind of a pick your own adventure. You're going to read a little monologue, and then it's going to have you choose between 2 different options. Then it's going to send you to a different page and reading that, and that will kind of change the setup and how that particular game plays. But I won't be talking about this campaign mode. I just played it through individually, and what I have here set up is the introduction mission. Now, if you've played the original Welcome to, this uses pretty much the same mechanics in this game. Well, right here in this particular mission, the intro mission, mission number 1, we are going to be trying to launch our rocket by crossing off all of these rockets on here. And how you're going to be doing that is we have 3 decks of cards here set up, and we will flip 1 card of each deck, and it will turn into an action area. And now all the players can now choose one of these piles of cards. They get the number plus the action. And in this game, you don't really have, or in this scenario, you don't really have actions. You just have different spots that you can place them. So you can place the 4 in the plant section. You can place the 12 in one of the robot rows. You can place the 3 in the calendar area. Now all of these will get our laminated sheets. All players will get a marker, and you can mark off one of these. So if I chose the 4 plant, I could write the 4 on any of these numbered rows, but it has to go in ascending. Now, obviously, we don't have any numbers right here, so I could put the 4 right here in this plant section. Now, any number after this spot has to be greater than 4. Any number before that has to be less than 4. So if later on in the game, I could get a 1, and I could get a 6 here, maybe I get a 12, and I put it there. In this particular scenario, if ever you mark off an entire section that's blocked off here, say if I finished this row, I could now mark off 2 rockets and put an X in anywhere else, and this just counts as a number. And that's kind of how this scenario works. You're going to be trying to complete that. And like I said, you're not really taking these actions like you are in the other scenarios. This is a very basic scenario. It's really good for teaching you to get into the game. But just like in the original, you're going to have these objective cards. If ever you finish the objective, the first person to do that gets to take whatever's on the left, and they'll flip it. If anybody else finishes it for the rest of the game, they get what's remaining. So you want to finish them as soon as possible. But like in these ones, whoever finishes this one first would get to mark off 3 rockets. Basically, whoever gets to the top, launches their rocket first by crossing off all the rockets, wins this game. But there are 8 different scenarios, and like I said, this is the very basic one. This is scenario number 2, and that's when the actions, you're going to actually start using different actions. And in all of the games, the actions are going to be slightly different, but similar. Now, for all of the games, for the plant or water actions, you're basically going to get to circle these resources, and those resources are going to score you points at the end of the game. The robots will let you build something. So in this game, if you got a robot, you could circle a robot and you're trying to circle all the robots leading up to one of these plant space stations up here. The energy action is going to let you improve certain actions. And in this game, you would circle an energy action, and whenever you circle 2 of them, you can make a line. Because right now, this entire thing is one big line. So you have to mark these numbers in ascending order, just like in all the other missions. But as soon as you get lines, then you can kind of make it a little bit easier, because obviously you can't put 1 through 15 in all of these numbers, in all of these slots. You're going to have to break them up with lines here and there. The astronaut action will allow you to take whatever number card you chose. Say if you chose this 4 and had the astronaut, you could turn that 4 into a 2, 3, keep it as a 4, 5, or 6. So you can improve it or increase it or decrease it by 2, 1 or 2. The calendar action will let you mark off whatever. So you pick that 4, so you put that 4 here. It lets you put an X in another spot as well. But all the games are going to play differently, and they're going to be slightly different actions. There are 8 maps in this, and all of them are double-sided, and this plays up to 6 players, so there's 6 of each. And all of these are very, very different from each other and play differently, and the actions are going to be different. But like I said, they're similar enough where it's easy enough to get into the game. Now, I played this game actually solo. The entire thing I played solo. And it's pretty simple to switch from multiplayer to solo. Instead of having these 3 piles here, you are going to have 1 stack of cards. And you are going to reveal 3 of these at a time. And you are going to take 2 of these cards. 1 as the number and 1 as whatever action it is. So I could take the 5 astronaut, or I could take the 8 energy. And you take those 2 cards, write it down, whatever you were going to do, and then whatever is left over, that goes to the AI, and that's going to be how they're going to score. And you see right here is the AI's scoring, and at the end of the game, whatever cards they have in their pile, they're going to score certain amounts of points. And each scenario is going to get them another extra sheet, and they're going to get some extra points other different ways. It's a very easy implemented solo system, just like the original Welcome to. And just like the original Welcome to, there's going to be 3 different ways where the game can end. If one player finishes all 3 missions, if one player has numbered every single slot that can be numbered, and if one player, say, can't mark any numbers, you have to mark these spots down here for negative points. But if some player can't do that 3 times, then the game will end immediately. And that is very, very simply how you play the game. Like I said, each scenario is going to be different, so I'm not going to go through all of that. But let's go up top, and I'll give you my final thoughts on this game. Now that you've seen sort of how the game works, or at least how the system works in this game, let's go through what I think about this actual game. Some positives, maybe some negatives. First of all, I like the simplicity of this system. I like the system of Welcome to. And if you play the original game, this uses that same system of you get a choice between 3 different things. You can take the number and the action of any of those 3 options. So it's simple. The games are simple, but they offer you complex, difficult decisions each game. And each game is going to be different depending on how those cards come out, what numbers are coming out, and what actions are coming out along with those numbers. I like that. It's like I said, it's a simple system. And as far as the rule book I thought was really well done. Let's go through that quick. If you haven't played, so you read the first couple pages, and it tells you how the game is. And it's only, 3 pages long for how to start the game. And then there's a page for the solo game. Then you'll get into your specific actual scenarios, and each scenario will have a simple explanation of how that scenario is going to work differently than the others. And they're very short too. So this first scenario, it's only 2 pages long actually for those rules. So I like that. So it's easy to go from one scenario to the other. And as far as the AI system, in these games. It's very simple to switch from multiplayer to the solitaire game. If you, and that's how I played the game, is solitaire. And if you know how to play the multiplayer game, you basically know how to play the solitaire game. At the end of each scenario, it's going to show some solitaire rules, and they're usually only a paragraph or two. So it's very easy to get into this game, and that's one thing I really enjoy about it. But like I said, simple game with difficult decisions, and that's one of the most positive things I can say about games now, is this is going to be easy to get to the table because it's an easy explanation to people, easy rule set to teach, easy rule set to learn. Like I said, the solo game, just as in the original Welcome to, I like the solo game quite a bit. It doesn't change a lot, so it definitely gets a thumbs up for me for the solo game. Welcome to what is one of my favorite solo games. This is right up there with that. Now for each of the scenarios. Now, and this is what kind of drives this game, is each scenario is vastly different. There's just a ton of differences. None of the games are the same. They're different puzzles for you to solve. But at the same time, they are similar enough, the actions are similar enough that it's not difficult to jump from one scenario to the other. You're not going to have a big learning curve in that. So I enjoy that. But each of them is very different. And when I was thinking about this, I was like, well, which scenario is my favorite out of the 8? And out of the 8, I couldn't pick a favorite scenario. And it's not like it was between 2 of them. There is about 5 of them that I would pick as my favorite scenario. And I think that says a lot about that. Is I think the funness and the puzzle is great in all of them. If I can't pick my top 2 because they're all so good, in my opinion, I think that's great. And like I said, they're vastly different. There's a scenario where a virus is spreading around. You're trying to block that off. There's scenario like the intro scenario. You're trying to launch a rocket. All of them offer different puzzles to solve in different ways. The intro, and I would play all of these again, and I did play each of these missions twice at least. The introduction mission is probably my least favorite, actually, because you don't really get to use those the special actions and stuff. But I mean, it's a great scenario to introduce people to the game if they've never played it. But that's probably my least favorite. It's the least interesting, I think, but it still is a good one. So all the scenarios are good in my opinion. As far as the component quality, this game switched from using paper and pencil to laminated sheets where you're going to use markers. The laminated sheets work really well. The markers work pretty good. The only thing that I was kind of sad about is because we have laminated sheets instead of paper and pencil, this switched it from however many players you wanted to now you can only play it as a 6-player game. So you can't, like in the old one, if you had 100 sheets, you could play with 100 players. This one, you only have 6 laminated sheets, so yeah, max player count of 6. As far as the cards, like I said, I've played each of these scenarios at least twice, so I shuffled these cards a ton, hundreds of times actually, and they're still holding up extremely well. There's not really any nicks on them at all. And for playing it that many times, shuffling it that many times, and I was riffle shuffling, and they're still in great condition. So the quality of the game is top notch in my opinion. And something about Welcome to is it feels different than other flip and write games. Flip and write games kind of cannibalize each other because they're so similar. Most of them are so similar. But when a flip and write game comes along and it's different, those really stand out to me. And the Welcome to series, nobody's really copied that system, and maybe they should. If I was a game company, I might try to copy their system. But they feel unique. They feel different from other flip and write games, and I liked Welcome to so much. In fact, I just did my top 100 games of all time. Welcome to made it into my top 100, and that says a lot for a flip and write game. You have to be a really good flip and write game, in my opinion, in order to get into my top 100, because they're usually, you play a flip and write and you're like, okay, that's cool, what's next? But Welcome to kind of has stuck around, and this game is right up there with that. Now for the most positive thing for this game, it is those scenarios. It is that each scenario feels so different. You're going to get your bang for your buck on this one. This, I think I paid $45 for this, and I was hesitant to cash uh, lend over that money. That's a big chunk of change for a flip and write game, because usually like flip and write games, 15-20 bucks. This game being me spending 45, I was kind of hesitant. I was like, that's a lot for a flip and write game, but since I like the original so much, I decided, let's try it out at least. And it's worth every cent. There is not many games out there that are going to give you this kind of variability, this kind of uh, differences in everything. This much stuff packed into a game. That's now I think it's a great bang for your buck. There's a lot of content in here for 40 to 45 bucks, whatever you end up paying for it. That is a big bonus for me. Then the one thing that I was, like I said, hesitant about, I was very glad. I was very happy with what came in this box. I've been playing this game nonstop for 2 weeks, and I still feel like playing it. Even after I'm going to do this, I will probably be going through that campaign to see everything for this game. Now for the negatives. I really had to search for negatives for this. I was really nitpicking to look for something, but I wanted to say something at least negative about this game, and they're going to be very, very minor things. First of all, the markers don't come with erasers, so you have to not use an eraser for when you're marking things off at the end of the game. That's not a big deal, but it's kind of annoying. I think if you make a game with markers, laminated sheets and markers, you should come with erasers at least. Second thing, and this is just a me thing, but there's 6 of these boxes in that game, and to organize the cards and all this other stuff, which is cool, but I had trouble remembering what components were in which, because I kept opening all the boxes. I'm like, I don't know what's in this box. So there was that. And like I said, that I think that might just be a me problem, but it is something that I thought was annoying. And those are the only 2 negatives, and they're very, very minor things, very nitpicky things to me. So my overall thoughts of this game, this is an absolutely wonderful game. This is a must-have in your collection, especially if you like flip and write games. I mean, if you don't like flip and write games, if you don't like Welcome to, you won't like this. But if you like Welcome to, this, I would say this is a must-have. I rate the original Welcome to, I think, an 8 or an 8.5. This has 8 scenarios in it that I think are as good or better than the Welcome to game. So that was like, what do I rate that then? Having 8 games in it that I would rate an 8 or higher, probably higher. So I thought about it, and this game's going to get a 10 for me. I don't give out 10s a lot for games. In fact, there's probably less than 20 games that I rate a 10. This is getting a 10 for all the scenarios in it. It's good bang for your buck. This is replacing Welcome to for me. I don't know when I'll get back to the original game, because I want to play all these scenarios several more times. And so I have a lot to do in this game. So yeah, it's getting a 10 for me. So high recommendation for me. If you like Welcome to, you're going to like this game. It's simple as that. But that will conclude this reviews and ratings episode. If you did enjoy this episode, make sure to like and subscribe to see more weekly content from me, Shane, at the board meeting in the future. Hope you all have an amazing day. Take care, everyone.